I made you a present.
Oh,
well, I picked you a present.
Oh, it's
So you can
beautiful.
smell it. You can make tea too, or you can just have it to open and smell.
No, I'm just gonna.
The smell will last for years sealed up in there.
Oh, thank you.
I love you too. As much as I really enjoy hanging out in remote locations like this that are super pretty, I did come out to the Kootenays with a long list of projects to take care of. And because I do actually think about safety, I built these leveling blocks to double as tire chocks so my van doesn't roll when I'm working on it. So here I'm just loosening off the lug nuts before starting the process of jacking the van up. And then because I'm on soft ground, I'm just building a base with scrap wood for the jack stand. And then I'll use this pile of extra wooden blocks to put the jack on because I do have quite a bit of clearance and it's not a huge jack. Having that lift on it really helps just to be able to get the van high enough in the air to take the tire off. And as it is, it already takes quite a while to jack my van up high enough to be able to get that tire free spinning and have lots of room under the van to be comfortable working. After that, it's pretty straightforward to remove the rest of the lug nuts and then the tire, and I was just taught as a redundant safety precaution to place it under the frame, so that's just what I've always done. Once the tire's off, I can just lower the van onto the jack stand and then use the jack to repeat the process on the other side. So here you can see that the brake pad indicator is rubbing on the rotor. That makes the squealing that tells you you need to change your brake pads, which for me is about every 2 years, but last time I did them, I don't really remember this part of the process, so my dad is showing me how to loosen the caliper to make room for the new brake pads when I finally get them. I prefer to get all my parts at the Napa here. They're really good to me. But when I phoned about my brake pads, there was actually 2 different options and only one was going to work on my van. So I'm just getting those off so that I can get a ride into town later with my mom to pick up the new brake pads and have these to match them instead of picking them up, driving back, seeing if they're the right ones, and if not, potentially having to put my tires back on, drive to town, and exchange them, which would just be like quite an ordeal when I can just get them ready and go to town with someone the next time they're going. Last time I changed my brake pads, I actually ignored the warning indicator squeal for about a year and had no pads left. So cheers to doing things early. And then I got a ride into town another day to get parts, and I was able to start on the other side. To be completely honest, I did end up having quite a bit of trouble just managing the crowbars. My dad made it look way easier than I felt like it was, but eventually I got it and I was able to start removing the caliper bolts. Now, if you're an experienced mechanic or just like pretty fluent in tools, you might already be noticing what I am doing completely wrong here. And I just want to remind you, I do have the power to edit out all my mistakes. I could make it look like I am a way better mechanic than I am, but the fact of the matter is that I'm learning still, and most of the time when I do something, it's the first time I'm doing it. This is actually my second time doing brake pads, but both times I've had help from someone else, and it's been a couple years. But on this day, it was pretty hot, and I wasn't quite thinking straight, so I'm trying very, 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 very hard to loosen the bolt, but I'm actually tightening it. And I'm hurting myself in the process. It was making my hands very sore gripping as tight as I was. So I decided to work smarter, not harder. And I added some leverage so I could really just give it my all trying to get that bolt out. Meanwhile, actually making it way tighter. So I tried really hard to get those brake pads off myself, but I wasn't successful, and we had a heat wave, and my dad works full time, so it was a couple days until he was able to help me continue making progress on my project. So instead, I just hung out in the yard for the most part, and I set up my slackline to practice that because it had been a long time since I had been slacklining, and also enjoy some time at the river with my mom and the dogs.
That's not a great place to race, right?
It is so much colder than the lake I went in last week. If her and Frank love to swim, but they need to chase a stick to do it. Good girl, Olivia. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. You can do it. Yeah, Olivia. Nice. Yay, Olivia.
Come on.
Frankie, beep beep. Not so close. Thank you. Oh, that wind. I couldn't get that off.
Because you were going the wrong way.
So they're really tight now?
No, they're loose now. I loosened. I also believe that you will never get this shock bolt out without a wrench on each end of the bolt.
No, Alice. Oh, kisses. Oh, thank you, but no, I'm doing something. While I was cleaning the bolts, my dad actually switched over the brake pads for me, so I'm just putting Never Sees on so that they'll come out much easier next time. Although I don't think I'll ever be tightening them by mistake ever again. I'm pretty sure that is something I will only do once. I feel like I've definitely learned my lesson to judge left and right from the correct end of the bolt. It had started raining quite heavily, but I really just wanted to get this side done before escaping to shelter. After the storm passed, we finished up my brakes and then moved on to the next project, which is changing out my shocks that were in pretty rough shape, as you will see in a moment. Haha, yay, I got it. That is so bad. Oh.
What?
I don't know about getting them in. Like, they're too long. It needs to be compressed.
Oh, can I show you how to do that?
Yeah. I haven't put the top bolt in yet. You just like cover. Okay. So after my dad showed me how to go about getting the new shock in, I just had to tighten it down, and as you've already seen in this episode, that is something I can definitely do. The other side gave me much more trouble. I couldn't even get the bolts out and definitely needed a lot of my dad's help for that. So after that was done, I just had to put the tires back on and go out and give my van a test drive. So when you change the brake pads, the new pads aren't conformed to the rotors, so they might not necessarily be better right away. So we're just out for a loop in the neighborhood, giving it some good firm braking. Not slamming the brakes, but just good firm application. So definitely does feel better than before. The brakes were at the indicator, so they were squealing, and they also just felt like they felt soft. Like, it didn't feel like I could trust them to stop in the amount of time they used to stop. And then with the new shocks, I can already tell it's riding a little quieter, and the little bumps on the road like aren't as jarring. Like, so much better already gonna be for hitting the back roads, because I got some mushrooms I want to go find, and it's gonna take driving back roads if I want to find mountains Frank can climb. You know, we gotta rely on driving a good portion of the way up instead of walking from the bottom like we used to. felt so nice to get my van back on the road after being up on the jacks for a couple days, and I know Frank really enjoyed getting out in the forest and smelling some new smells. So also really appreciate having my dad's help on those projects because I would not have been able to do them on my own. Yeah, it just it was challenging for me in a lot of ways, but I learned quite a bit, and hopefully when I need to do brake pads again in 2 years, I can do them all on my own. So you'll have to stick around for that if you want to find out if I tighten or loosen those caliper bolts second time around. But yeah, I really appreciate you watching. It means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. I'll leave you now with one last trip across the slackline, which, considering I had only been back at it for about a week, I feel really good about how fast it all came back to me. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!